Part 1. The Forgotten Warning. The council chamber of the Galactic Union hung suspended in the void between stars, a monument to peace that had endured for 8 centuries. Within its crystalline walls, representatives from 47 species debated trade routes, resource disputes, and territorial boundaries. But there was one region they never discussed: Sector 7739, the human sector. Ambassador Krelix of the Vraxian Empire shifted his massive form in the diplomatic pod, his 4 eyes narrowing as he studied the holographic star map before him. The empty space glowed faintly red, a warning color that had persisted since before his grandfather's grandfather had hatched. "Ridiculous," he muttered, his voice like grinding stone. Beside him, his military advisor, Commander Thex, clicked his mandibles nervously. "My lord, the Treaty of Titan's moon is 800 years old," Krelix interrupted, his voice rising to fill the chamber. The other ambassadors turned their various sensory organs toward him. 800 years since anyone has seen a human. 800 years of silence from Sector 7739. Tell me, Commander, what empire survives 8 centuries of complete isolation? Thex said nothing. The ambassador's logic was sound, even if his tone made the younger officer's scales itch with unease. Krelix stood, his armored bulk casting shadows across the chamber floor. The humans were a minor species. Aggressive, yes. Clever, perhaps. But they possessed only 12 colonized worlds when they retreated behind their borders. 12 worlds. He laughed, a sound like boulders tumbling down a mountainside. The Vraxian Empire controls 400 systems. We have fleets that darken the skies of entire planets. And yet we cower before ghosts? The eldest speaker, a Calithian whose species had sat on the council since its founding, raised one withered appendage. Her voice carried the weight of centuries. "Ambassador Krelix, your words display either courage or ignorance. I pray it is the former, but I fear it is the latter. Speak plainly, eldest. The humans signed the Treaty of Titan's moon after what we called the Contact War. It lasted 17 standard months. In that time, humanity went from a curious, expanding species to something else entirely. They did not lose that war, Ambassador. They ended it. On their terms," Krelix waved a dismissive claw. "Ancient history, exaggerated by time and fear. The warning beacons at the border of Sector 7739 still function," another ambassador interjected, a Zephyrite whose translucent form shimmered with anxiety. "They broadcast on all frequencies in all known languages. The message has not changed in 8 centuries. Yes, Krelix said with exaggerated boredom. "I know the message. Beyond this point lies human space. Entry is forbidden under the Treaty of Titan's moon. Go no further. They do not forgive." Theatrical. Designed to frighten primitive species who believed in their mythology. The eldest speaker's many eyes closed slowly, one after another. "It is not mythology, Ambassador. It is memory, and memory is the only thing that has kept the peace." "Then it is time," Krelix declared, his voice booming across the chamber, "to replace memory with reality. The Vraxian Empire will enter Sector 7739. We will assess its current state. If the humans still exist, we will establish diplomatic contact. If they do not," he smiled, revealing rows of serrated teeth, "then we will claim what has been abandoned." A ripple of shock moved through the assembled ambassadors. Several species began speaking at once, their translators creating a cacophony of warnings, protests, and pleas for reconsideration. The eldest speaker's voice cut through the chaos like a blade through silk. "This is madness, Krelix. You do not understand what you are proposing. I understand perfectly. I understand that the galaxy has been held hostage by fear for 8 centuries. I understand that an empire that cannot even respond to our communications is no empire at all. And I understand that the Vraxian people will not be bound by the cowardice of lesser species." He turned to his commander. "Prepare the fleet. 200 warships. We depart within the week." As Krelix strode from the chamber, the eldest speaker watched him go. When the doors sealed behind the Vraxian delegation, she spoke softly to her aide. "Record my testimony for the archives. Let it be known that we tried to stop him. Let it be known that we remembered." "Remembered what, eldest?" The old Calithian's voice was barely a whisper. "What humanity is capable of when provoked." 3 days later, the Vraxian fleet assembled at the edge of Council space. 200 warships, each bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The pride of the Empire, the largest military expedition launched in 2 centuries. Commander Thex stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominion's Fist, watching the final vessels take their positions. Around him, crew members worked with practiced efficiency, but he could feel the tension in the air. Many had heard the old stories. Many had seen the fear in the eyes of the Council's eldest members. Ambassador Krelix appeared beside him, his armor polished to a mirror sheen. Magnificent, isn't it? A fleet worthy of history? Yes, my lord. Thex hesitated. The crew has been asking questions about the humans, about what we might encounter. Tell them they are about to witness the birth of a new era, an era without superstition and fear. Krelix gestured to the communications officer. Broadcast to the fleet. We enter Sector 7739 in 1 hour. Maintain battle formations. Scan everything. Record everything. Today, the Vraxian Empire reclaims its destiny. The hour passed in tense silence. Then, precisely on schedule, the fleet advanced toward the ancient border marked by those drifting warning beacons. As they crossed the threshold, every beacon activated simultaneously. The message repeated across all channels in perfect Vraxian. Beyond this point lies human space. Entry is forbidden under the Treaty of Titan's Moon. Go no further. They do not forgive, Krelix laughed. Disable those relics. Forward to the first system. The fleet moved deeper into Sector 7739. For 3 days they found nothing. Empty systems. Abandoned mining stations, silent and cold. Deactivated satellites drifting in forgotten orbits. No defense grids. No patrol ships. No signs of civilization, you see? Krelix said on the 3rd day, his confidence swelling. Nothing but ruins and memories. The humans are gone, if they ever truly existed at all. But Thex noticed something the ambassador did not. Every abandoned station they passed still had power. Faint, minimal, but present, as if something was keeping them alive, waiting. On the 4th day, they reached a system that had once been called Proxima Outpost according to the ancient charts. A yellow star with 7 planets, 2 of them marked as former human colonies. Scan the inner worlds, Krelix ordered. Let's see what humanity left behind. The science officer worked his console, then froze. My lord, I'm detecting an energy signature. Single vessel, small, moving to intercept our position. Just 1 ship? Krelix laughed again. A probe, perhaps. Activate visual. The main view screen flickered to life. A ship appeared before them. It was small compared to the Vraxian warships, perhaps 200 meters long. Its hull was dark, almost black, with no visible markings except for a name painted in simple white letters along its side. Remembrance 1. And below that, in smaller text, United Earth Defense Force. The bridge fell silent. The ship made no aggressive moves. It simply held position waiting. Hail them, Krelix ordered, his voice losing some of its certainty. The communications officer worked quickly. Channel open, my lord. A face appeared on the screen. Human, female. Her hair was pulled back severely, and her dark eyes carried a weight that made even Krelix shift uncomfortably. She wore a dark uniform with markings that meant nothing to the Vraxians, but her rank was clear in the way she held herself. When she spoke, her voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, commanding officer of the vessel Remembrance 1. You have violated the Treaty of Titan's Moon. You have entered human space without authorization. She paused, and her next words carried across the void like a judgment. You have 1 opportunity to withdraw. Turn your fleet around and leave this sector immediately. Krelix recovered his composure, rising to his full height. I am Ambassador Krelix of the Vraxian Empire, and this fleet represents the will of the Galactic Council to investigate the status of... The Galactic Council, Captain Chen interrupted, has no authority in human space. The treaty was clear. We claimed this sector. You agreed never to enter it. You have broken that agreement. The treaty is 800 years old. Your species has been silent for 8 centuries. We have every right to... You have no rights here. Chen's voice never rose, never wavered. You have only a choice. Leave now or face the consequences of your intrusion. Krelix's anger flared. 1 ship. You dare threaten a fleet of 200 warships with 1 ship? For the first time, something changed in Captain Chen's expression. Not anger, not fear. Something worse, a smile. Small. Sad. Ambassador Krelix, she said softly. You made a mistake coming here, but your greatest mistake is assuming you see our full strength. She leaned forward slightly. This is your final warning. You have 10 minutes to begin your withdrawal. After that, you will understand why the galaxy has left us alone for 800 years. The screen went dark. Krellick stood frozen for a moment, then exploded. Battle stations. Target that vessel. I want it disabled and brought aboard. We'll drag this arrogant human back to the council in chains. My lord, Thex said carefully. Perhaps we should consider. I have considered. This is theater. Intimidation. 200 warships against 1. Lock weapons! The weapons officer worked his console. Locked, my lord. Fire. The command echoed across the bridge, and in that moment, everything changed. The price of arrogance, the weapons officer pressed the firing sequence. 50 warships unleashed their primary weapons simultaneously. Energy beams that could vaporize asteroids. Plasma torpedoes that burned hotter than stars. Kinetic projectiles that moved at relativistic speeds. The barrage converged on Remembrance 1. For a fraction of a second, the human ship disappeared behind a wall of incandescent destruction. The Vraxian crew cheered. Several officers pounded their consoles in triumph. Then the light faded. Remembrance 1 remained, untouched. Not even a scorch mark on its dark hull. The cheering died instantly. Impossible, someone whispered. Around the small human vessel, space itself seemed to shimmer, a barely visible distortion that pulsed with each breath of the watching crew. The shield technology was unlike anything in the Vraxian database. Unlike anything the Council had ever catalogued, Captain Chen's face reappeared on the screen. Her expression had not changed. Still calm, still sad. Your 10 minutes, she said quietly, have ended. All ships, Krellick roared, his composure shattering. Concentrated fire. Full weapons release. Destroy that. The lights went out. Every ship in the Vraxian fleet went dark simultaneously. Engines, weapons, life support, communications. Everything shut down in perfect synchronization, leaving 200 warships drifting blind and helpless in the void. Emergency lighting flickered on across the Dominion's fist. The bridge was bathed in dim red illumination. Officers shouted reports, their voices rising in panic. All systems offline. Backup generators not responding. I can't access anything. It's like the entire network is locked. Commander Thex moved to his console, his claws trembling as he worked. My lord, this isn't a weapons attack. This is... They've taken control. Complete control. Every system in the fleet has been remotely accessed and disabled. That's impossible. Krellick slammed his fist against his command throne. Our systems are isolated. Air-gapped. There's no way to... They found a way. Thex's voice was hollow. They're inside everything. Every ship. Every computer. 800 years, my lord. They've had 800 years to prepare for this moment. Captain Chen's face remained on the screen, the only system still functioning. Behind her, through her ship's viewport, the Vraxian fleet drifted in darkness like dead things. Your weapons, she said, her words measured and precise, were designed to break shields, to pierce armor, to destroy cities. They are impressive by galactic standards. 300 years ago they might have troubled us. She paused. But you are not fighting the humanity that signed the Treaty of Titan's Moon. You are fighting the humanity that learned from that war. The humanity that spent 8 centuries doing one thing and one thing only. What? Krellick's voice was barely a whisper. Preparing for the day someone like you decided to forget. The main view screen changed. New images appeared. Dozens of them, filling every display on every ship in the fleet simultaneously. Each showed a different view of Sector 7739, different systems, different locations. And in every single image, human warships materialized out of nothing. Not one ship. Not 10, not 100, thousands. They appeared in perfect formations around every Vraxian vessel. Ships of sizes that shouldn't exist. Some small like Remembrance 1, others vast enough to dwarf entire stations, all the same dark color. Nearly invisible against the black of space until they chose to be seen, all bearing the same simple white letters, United Earth Defense Force. Dear God, Thex breathed, forgetting the translator was still active. Captain Chen continued, her voice filling the silence. When we signed the treaty, we claimed 37 star systems. Today, we call 163 systems home. When we signed the treaty, we had 3 billion people. Today, 12 worlds have become 47 colonies, 32 habitats, and 16 deep space platforms. Our population is 83 billion and growing. She leaned forward, and for the first time there was steel in her voice. When we signed the treaty, we had warships that barely crossed the line into faster-than-light travel, ships that struggled to shield against cosmic radiation, weapons that would seem primitive to your empire. She gestured to the images surrounding them. We improved. We adapted. We evolved. For 800 years, Ambassador, while you explored and expanded and grew comfortable, we did only one thing. We became ready. Ready for what? Krelix asked, though he already knew the answer. Ready for the day arrogance overcame memory. Ready for the day someone decided that peace was weakness. Ready for the day someone forgot why we were left alone. Her eyes seemed to look through the screen, through the hull, into the very soul of every Vraxian present. Ready for you. Another image appeared on the screen. A space station unlike any in Council territory. Massive, ancient in design but clearly maintained. Around it, construction facilities worked ceaselessly, building more ships. Always more ships. This is Titan's moon, Captain Chen said, where the treaty was signed, where we promised to stay within our borders and never again interfere with galactic affairs, where we built the first of our defense platforms. She smiled that sad smile again. We kept our promise, Ambassador. Every word of it. We stayed behind our borders. We did not expand beyond Sector 7739. We did not seek contact. We did not interfere. But you built an armada, Thek said quietly. A fleet that could challenge the entire council. Yes, why? Captain Chen's expression softened, becoming almost gentle. Because we are human, Commander. And humans remember. We remember every treaty broken, every promise forgotten, every time arrogance led to war. We knew that eventually someone would come. Someone who thought 8 centuries was long enough. Someone who believed silence meant extinction. She shook her head slowly. We were right. Krelix found his voice, though it shook with emotions he had never felt before. Fear. True fear. What? What do you want? I want you to understand something, Ambassador. Something that your species, that every species in the Council needs to understand. She stood, and behind her, through the viewport, one of the massive human warships began to move closer. Its size became apparent, kilometers long, bristling with weapons that made the Vraxian arsenal look like children's toys. The Treaty of Titan's moon was not a surrender. It was not weakness. It was mercy. Her voice grew quieter, more dangerous. Humanity looked at the galaxy, at species like yours with your pride and your weapons and your certainty, and we made a choice. We could conquer. We could dominate. We could take what we wanted and enforce peace through strength. But you didn't, Thek said. No, we chose isolation. We chose to give the galaxy space to grow, to develop, to mature. We hoped that given time, given peace, the Council would become wise enough that we could rejoin it as equals. As partners, she paused. We were wrong. The massive warship behind her came to a stop, its shadow falling across the entire Vraxian fleet. You asked what we want, Ambassador. I will tell you. We want you to leave. We want you to return to the Council, and we want you to tell them exactly what you found here. And what is that? Krelix asked, his voice barely audible. That humanity has not vanished, that we have not weakened, that we have not forgiven and we have not forgotten. Captain Chen's eyes blazed with an intensity that made even the recording feel dangerous. Tell them that the treaty still stands. Tell them that our borders are still closed. Tell them that the next fleet to enter human space will not be disabled and sent home. What will happen to them? They will never leave. Silence filled the bridge. Complete. Absolute. Then, one by one, systems began to come back online across the Vraxian fleet. Lights flickered to full brightness. Engines hummed to life. Weapon systems remained locked, but navigation and propulsion were restored. A navigation marker appeared on every ship's display, a route back to Council space. The most direct path possible. Captain Chen's final words echoed across every speaker in the fleet. You have 24 hours to clear our borders. If you are still in Sector 7739 after that time, you will be considered hostile invaders, and we will respond accordingly. This is the last warning humanity will ever give. She paused one final time. Go home, Ambassador Krellix. Go home and tell them what you saw here today. Tell them why the galaxy left us alone. Tell them why they should never, ever forget again. The screen went dark. Around them, the thousands of human warships simply vanished, their stealth technology rendering them invisible once more. But everyone knew they were still there. Watching. Waiting. Remembrance 1 turned slowly, almost gracefully, and accelerated away. Within seconds, it had disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving the Vraxian fleet alone in the darkness. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Then Ambassador Krellix, whose pride had led 200 warships into forbidden space, whose arrogance had challenged a sleeping giant, whose certainty had crumbled like sand before the tide, gave the only order that made sense. Take us home. Commander Thex began issuing orders, routing the fleet toward the marked navigation path. As the ships slowly formed up, as the Empire's pride began its retreat, he turned to his commander. My lord, what will you tell the council? Krellix sat heavily in his command throne, his armor suddenly feeling like a burden instead of protection. 800 years. 800 years of warnings ignored. 800 years of peace taken for granted. 800 years of a sleeping giant that had not been sleeping at all, but watching, preparing, waiting for this very moment. I will tell them, he said slowly, each word heavy with the weight of understanding too late, that the price of arrogance has not yet been paid. That was merely the bill being presented. I don't understand. Krellix looked at the empty space, where Remembrance 1 had been, where thousands of human warships had appeared and vanished like ghosts, where a single captain had dismantled the pride of an empire with nothing but words and a demonstration of power so absolute it required no violence. That was mercy, Commander. Captain Chen was right. That was mercy. We came into their home with 200 warships and they sent us away with all our ships intact, all our crew alive, and only our pride wounded. He closed his 4 eyes, one after another. The bill has been presented. We have been shown exactly what we challenged, exactly what we awakened, and they let us live to carry that message back. But the price, Krellix interrupted, his voice hollow, will be paid if anyone is foolish enough to ignore this warning. If anyone decides that what we witnessed was a bluff, if anyone chooses pride over wisdom again. He opened his eyes, staring at the navigation display showing their route home. Then humanity will collect. And based on what we just saw, Commander, I do not think the galaxy could afford what they would take. The fleet moved in silence toward the border of Sector 7739. Behind them, invisible but omnipresent, the human forces watched them go. Thousands of ships, decades of technology beyond anything the Council possessed. Billions of people who had spent 8 centuries preparing for a day they knew would come. As they crossed back into Council space, passing those ancient warning beacons that suddenly seemed far less theatrical and far more prophetic, Commander Thex noticed something on his sensor display. A message. Text only. Broadcast on a tight beam directly to the Dominion's fist. He read it once, twice, then forwarded it to Ambassador Krellix without comment. The message was simple, only 3 words, in perfect Vraxian, remember us well. Below it, a signature, Captain Sarah Chen, UEDF, and below that, something else, a date. The date of the Treaty of Titan's Moon, signed 800 years ago. And a quote from that treaty, a single line that every species had read but none had truly understood. Humanity withdraws from galactic affairs not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. We hope the Council will one day understand the difference. Krellix read the message 3 times. Then he ordered it archived, copied, and prepared for transmission to every member of the Council. Let them all see it. Let them all understand what he had learned at such cost to his pride and his people's certainty. The galaxy had not been protected from humanity for 800 years. Humanity had been protecting the galaxy from itself, and now someone had made them stop. The Vraxian fleet returned to Council space 4 days later. They had not been fired upon. They had not been pursued. They had not been contacted again. The human forces had simply watched them go, silent and patient, as they had been for 8 centuries. But everything had changed. When Ambassador Krelix stood before the Galactic Council to give his report, his voice carried none of its previous arrogance. His words were measured, careful, honest. He told them everything. The ease with which humanity had disabled the fleet, the thousands of warships that had appeared from nowhere, the technology that made Council weapons look primitive, the calm, terrible certainty of Captain Sarah Chen. When he finished, silence filled the chamber. The eldest speaker was the first to break it. Her voice was soft, but every word carried weight. "So now you understand," she said. "Now you know what we tried to tell you, what our ancestors knew and tried to pass down to us." She looked around the chamber at the assembled species. "The humans did not leave because they feared us. They left because they feared what they might become if they stayed. They feared their own capacity for war, for dominance, for the kind of absolute victory that leaves nothing but ashes." Another ambassador, a young Zephyrite who had been among those warning Krelix, spoke up. "Then why did they build such a fleet? Why prepare for war if they wanted peace?" "Because," the eldest speaker replied, "peace is not the absence of the capacity for war. Peace is the choice not to wage it when you have the power to do so." She turned her ancient eyes to Krelix. "And now, Ambassador, a question for you. After witnessing what you witnessed, after seeing what humanity has become, what do you believe would happen if the Council decided to test them again? If we sent not 200 ships but 2,000? Krelix did not hesitate. "We would lose. Completely. Absolutely. And I suspect we would not receive another merciful warning." "Then what do you propose?" For the first time in his life, Ambassador Krelix spoke with humility. "That we honor the treaty. That we enforce its boundaries with absolute strictness. That we make it clear to every species, every fleet, every ambitious fool like I was, that Sector 7739 is forbidden. Not because we fear humanity's aggression, but because we respect their restraint." "And if someone refuses?" another ambassador asked. "If another species decides to test the boundaries?" Krelix's answer was simple. "Then they do so alone, without Council support, without Council protection. And they learn the same lesson I did." He paused, then added quietly, "If they survive it." The Council debated for hours. Some argued for increased military buildup. Some suggested attempting diplomatic contact through official channels. Some wanted to pretend nothing had changed. But in the end, the decision was unanimous. The Treaty of Titan's Moon would stand. Sector 7739 would remain forbidden, and a new edict would be added to Council law, enforced with the full weight of every member species. Let it be known that human space is sovereign and inviolate. Let it be known that humanity's silence is not weakness, but choice. Let it be known that those who violate these truths do so at their own peril, and the Council will not intervene on their behalf. Let this be remembered, now and forever, as the price of arrogance. The warning beacons at the border were updated with this new message, and this time, when ships approached the boundary, when young officers asked their captains about the empty sector beyond, the answers came not with dismissive laughter, but with somber respect. "That's human space," the captains would say. "Don't go there, ever. They don't forgive, and we don't forget what happens when someone forgets that." Far away on the Bridge of Remembrance 1, Captain Sarah Chen reviewed the reports from the border monitors. The Vraxian fleet had departed on schedule. No other ships had approached. The galaxy had received its reminder. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Torres, stood beside her. "Do you think they learned, Captain? Do you think it will hold?" Chen watched the display showing their sector, 47 colonies, 32 habitats, 16 platforms, and more ships than the Council could count, hidden in the dark between stars. 800 years of growth, 800 years of preparation, 800 years of hoping this day would never come, while knowing it inevitably would. For a time, she said finally. Maybe a generation, maybe two. But arrogance is a patient teacher, Marcus. Eventually, someone will forget again. Someone will look at our silence and see opportunity instead of warning. Someone will make the same mistake Krellix made. And when they do, Captain Chen's expression was unreadable. Then we'll be here, just like we were this time, just like we'll be next time and the time after that and the time after that. She turned to face her second in command. We are the guardians of a peace that costs us everything, our freedom to expand, our ability to explore, our right to rejoin the galactic community. We pay that cost gladly because we know what we prevented today. War. Not just war. Annihilation. If we had joined the Council as equals, if we had shared our technology, if we had become part of their conflicts and alliances. She shook her head. We would have been drawn into war, and once drawn in, we would have won, and that victory would have destroyed everything, them and us both. Torres was quiet for a moment. So we stay here, in the dark, watching. We stay here, in the dark, protecting the galaxy from us and us from them. Chen smiled slightly. It's not the destiny humanity dreamed of, but it's the destiny we chose. And perhaps in another 800 years, the galaxy will have grown wise enough that we can finally come home. You believe that? I have to. Otherwise, this is all just a very elaborate prison. She turned back to the display. Send the fleet back to standby positions. Rotate the patrol schedules, and update the message banks for the border beacons. What should it say? Chen considered for a moment, then spoke clearly. Add this to the standard warnings. The Treaty of Titan's moon remains in force. Human space is closed. We do not seek war, but we will not surrender peace. Go no further. They do not forgive. We have not forgotten, and we are always watching. As Torres relayed the orders, Remembrance 1 turned gracefully and accelerated toward home. Behind it, the border of Sector 7739 fell silent once more. The warning beacons drifted in their eternal orbits, broadcasting their messages to a galaxy that had just been reminded why some warnings should never be ignored. In the council chambers, species debated the implications of what had been discovered. In Vraxian space, Ambassador Krellix wrote his memoirs, hoping his mistake would teach future generations what arrogance truly costs. And in human space, on 47 worlds in 32 habitats, on 16 platforms and aboard thousands of warships hidden in the dark between stars, humanity maintained its vigil, patient, prepared, watching, waiting for the day they hoped would never come again. But ready, always ready, for the day they knew eventually would.